Thank you and welcome everyone to the first IBC MENA Online Connect of this current board year. I'm really happy to introduce to you someone who kind of got stuck to our hearts with her work on belonging and is here to talk to us about belonging as a retention strategy. I want to thank you all for being here, especially my two co-board members, Ana Margarita Ximenez and Michael Nord, and Duke Swain, who's been on our board last year. If you are watching this recording, please check out our website for the different podcasts and events. Also, make sure you friend us on LinkedIn, IABC MENA, because we definitely use this particular social media channel to tell you about what we are doing and also to showcase your work. So without further ado, let me embarrass Chared and read a few things about her, which to me seemed very impressive. Chared Verschuur-Ballo is a global optimist, and we all need those, as we know. She's a lifelong learner and belonging at work advocate. She's a communication consultant and founder of Good Comms, a Netherlands-based consultancy committed to deliver positive workplace cultures and sustainable change through internal development and behavior change communication strategies. With over 2 decades of experience, Chared has collaborated with diverse clients, including the United Nations, European Commission, Booking.com, Signify, Philips, Lighting, international nonprofits, and news bureaus. She is currently championing inclusive communication at the United Nations Development Programme. She thrives in multicultural environments and is proficient in English, Filipino, and Dutch. Chared holds an executive MSc in corporate communication from RSM Erasmus University, MA in development communication from the University of the Philippines, and field-related postgraduate certificates. A proud member of IABC, IOIC, and PRCA, she is also a transformational coach. Outside of her consultancy work, because I'm sure she has so much spare time, she leads a Lean-In Circle and is a 50 Ways to Fight Bias facilitator. She enjoys expanding her knowledge in communication, human behavior, and change, embarking in DIY projects and traveling ultralight with her family. Born and raised in the Philippines, she currently lives in the Netherlands with her urban farmer husband and grade schooler. Thank you, Chared, for this amazing opportunity. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, now I'm embarrassed. Am I supposed to start to share my screen now? Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah, introduction. Wait a minute. Yeah. All right. Thank you for that introduction and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. I'm really excited to see all those faces and because I know that you're really busy. So thank you for taking the time in your busy schedule to be here. And thanks to Catalina for a very pleasant introduction. I will try to live up to that. As we've heard from that introduction, I'm a communication consultant, belonging advocate, and founder of Good Comms. I'm giving this webinar from my home office in Pijnacker, the Netherlands, which I share with my Dutch husband and 6-year-old biracial son. My career started in journalism. I moved to in-house communication when I moved to the Netherlands to join my husband. From being an all-round communication professional, I chose to specialize in internal communication because it gives me the space to work on culture, values, and purpose of an organization, which I call inner work. In 2021, I launched Good Comms. You will see the logo there of the hummingbird. And if you're interested why, you can look for the hummingbird story of Wangari Maathai. So I've been in a lot of transitions in my adult life, but I always felt that where I hang my hat is home. I always felt that I belonged until in the middle of the pandemic, I was in a job after 20 years of working where I couldn't really find my footing. I felt excluded, and this had a negative impact on my performance. I thought I was the only one, so I told no one, but I started looking for answers. Then I saw a video of Pat Wador's former LinkedIn head of talent talking about belonging, its role in employee experience, and as missing ingredient in diversity in the diversity and inclusion space. And that was my aha moment. What I experienced was a lack of belonging at work. So I focused my master's research in this topic using the lens of internal communication. From that study, I learned about the origins of belonging from Maslow, who first wrote that belonging bridges basic needs and the fulfillment of one's potential. Baumeister and Leary later pointed out that, yes, it is essential to human motivation and could even be more important than food and water. So they changed actually the pyramid of Maslow. Brené Brown took on a different perspective by writing that belonging starts with oneself. There's obviously a lot of different perspectives on this topic, and to easily assess, I first used Allen's belonging framework to inform my interview questions. So I talked to so many people who weren't feeling a sense of belonging at work. Their stories were heartbreaking. And I also found out what they needed and where it worked for them. Elements of belonging at work, who the main players are, and the role that internal communication can play to make that possible. I will share all of that with you today, but before we move on...
Recording in progress.
I would like to... Are we still on? I would like to know who you are, what brought you here, and what is belonging to you. So if you could write that in the chat. That's almost everyone. Thank you for all those beautiful belonging definitions. Thank you for sharing your definitions. And let's see how this match with the summary definition from my interviews. So I summarize belonging as I can be myself. I don't have to fake it. I matter. I am seen. I am heard. I'm an essential part of my team. So it seems like this definition also resonates with the definition that you gave, all of you. But why does it matter anyway? Why does it matter to matter? Because if we look around us, everyone seems to be understaffed. We've gone from the great resignation to quiet quitting and conscious quitting. And if you are in the position of hiring talent or retaining them, you would know how much time it costs to find a good one. And time costs money. Research shows that when an employee leaves, it costs 200% of that employee's annual salary to find a new one, plus job advert costs. So looking at it from various sides, it's important to keep the talent that you currently have. And a lot of people are leaving their jobs because the pandemic has shown us what is most important to us. And leaving a job that does not see our value is not the worst thing that can happen in the world. The pandemic just magnified the challenges that were already there, like workplace loneliness and exclusion. And social exclusion, I found out, registers as real physical pain in the brain. So while exclusion causes people to get sick and leave their jobs, belonging increases job performance, lowers risk of turnover, and decreases the number of sick days. But how do we operationalize belonging at work? For the lack of a better term, operationalize. During my interviews, these 4 things stood out as the elements needed to create a sense of belonging at work: authenticity, care, empowerment, and support. The first letters spell ACEs, so I called it the ACEs framework. The first element is authenticity, pertaining to spontaneous, non-transactional, organic moments of connection, events that are serendipitous. I use the word authenticity to code this theme because these are actions that bring out the authentic self in people and relationships. Stephen Joseph defined authenticity as when people feel truly accepted for who they are. They don't feel the need to put on a facade. Brené Brown also wrote that true belonging does not require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. This matches with the I can be myself. I don't have to fake it part of the definition I showed earlier. Among all those elements, it is also the most difficult to create in dispersed and digital workplaces. According to employees, though, they have experienced it in events where they are put in a team other than the team they're used to work with. I call these teaming events. These are events where employees carry out tasks to achieve something together. It gives a sense of achievement, creates a we feeling, and opens up vertical and horizontal connections in an organization. It also doesn't feel scripted, so it creates serendipity. And where does comms come in? Communication can help facilitate these events. The challenge is to keep them interesting and make them about the employees and not the organization. The second element is care, which are tangible expressions of appreciation for employees. They are totally non-transactional. The only goal is to make people feel that they matter and are valued. This could be surprise gifts, onboarding flowers, or care packages sent all throughout the employee journey. It can be the job of internal communication to listen to employees, recognize their needs, and tailor activities and actions to these needs. As a result, communication can act as behavior driver as they work on leadership communication, because how we communicate defines the culture we're trying to create. We are here to fill the say-do gap. The third element is empowerment, actions that help employees to perform their jobs autonomously. It sends the message of trust and that they are an essential part of the team. They can be made tangible by giving employees the power of choice, where they work, when they work, regular feedback, good tech, and if they're new, good onboarding, organizational onboarding programs that makes them identify with the organization. Studies consistently show that organizational identification is important to have a sense of belonging. Communication's role here is essential because we know the organization from the inside out. We can help in the production of a good onboarding program that is holistic, not only informational, but also lets the culture of the organization shine, including values and purpose, so that they can see how they fit into the puzzle. And the last piece of our 4 elements is support. This refers to the human support network that is mostly led by the line manager, surprise, surprise. This could also be performed by a buddy, a colleague, or a mentor. It was the most dominant of all the 4 themes during my research. When done well, this gives employees the feeling of being seen and heard. One might think that this is the same as care. The difference is that caring behaviors are not non-transactional, while support is about knowing who to ask when you feel lost in your work, having one-on-ones with your line manager, having clarity on your tasks, and knowing that during times of uncertainty, there's a human being you can fall back on. As I found out, the relationship between an employee and his or her line manager is a defining moment in the belonging journey. Employees who didn't have regular meetings with their managers were also the most disengaged. And managers' communication skills often come back in engagement surveys as the most in need of improvement. This opens a lot of avenues for communication. We can help managers communicate, not just cascade information, feel the ground, and help them grow as a main communication channel. And if we'd like to groom them into becoming inclusive leaders, we can use this model, which, by accident or not, spells B-E-L-O-N-G, belong. How can they create a brave and safe space where everyone has a voice? How can they show empathy where people feel cared for? Can they listen better? What language do they use? As I found out, just introducing someone as our new team member, or whatever position it is, already creates a sense of belonging. Do they notice what is happening in the team? And last, but certainly not the least, can they say thank you more often? In summary, there are 4 elements of belonging at work: authenticity, care, empowerment, and support. Each element is defined. I can be myself. I don't have to fake it. Speaks to authenticity. I matter is made possible with care. I am essential is possible with systems empowerment. I am seen and heard matches human support network. These elements can be made tangible and actionable in a lot of ways, and communication certainly has a role to play in making this happen. This is not to say that belonging is only communication's role. Belonging is everybody's role, and how we design our communication can have a huge impact in helping people connect and in creating cultures of belonging in a highly diverse, dispersed, and digital world. Obviously, research findings are only as good as its application, and only when we apply it can it make a real difference. So where can you actually use these models? While I originally planned for this research to be used to improve workplace dynamics, the learnings can also be used to, well, improve employee experience as we apply belonging moments in the whole employee journey, stakeholder engagement, and not only employee engagement, because whoever your stakeholder is, if you want them to stay engaged, they have to feel a sense of belonging. Membership associations, because what you really sell is a sense of belonging. And volunteer groups, because individuals won't show up for free if they don't feel that they belong. And if you'd like to apply these learnings to your organization, associations, or groups, you can use the models I showed for your own audit work, or I can do that for you. I can also host a workshop for you in-house or train managers according to the Belong model, carry out the same research in your organization, or work on a broader culture change for your organization, using belonging as a foundation and injecting belonging moments into the whole employee or stakeholder journey. And if you'd like to take a deeper dive into the models and individually and practice, I would like to invite you to the full workshop in January. And as a sign of thank you for being here, you can use the code on this slide for a discounted rate until this Monday, October 9. If you would like to get in touch after this, or just let me know how you get on, I'm on LinkedIn or Good Comms. Thank you for your time and attention. We've come to the end of this webinar. I hope you feel like you got something out of it. Now it's your turn for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chared, for your preparation. This was definitely thought-provoking. While I think we've all kind of meditated on many of these topics before, I think you've done us a great service in bringing them together, and especially in creating the framework to operationalize them, because I think that's a big issue. We all have the ideas, but how do we actually put them in practice? Before I invite my colleagues for questions, I wanted to see if you can speak a little bit to the difference of belonging versus fitting in, because I think a lot of us, and maybe just me, many times try to fit in and kind of mistake that for belonging.
Yeah, well, it's Brené Brown who actually researched that part of belonging. That is actually the reverse, because if you try to fit in, then it's actually not belonging, because you're not being yourself. And so you're trying to, it's about that balance that you are in that space, in a space where you are yourself, but also that you feel that maybe not fitting in, but that you also, the culture of that group, that it also reflects you. But I also always talk about fitting in, and when they say that when people are hiring and then they want someone who reflects the culture of the organization, I always say, but don't look for someone who fits in, look for culture add. So yeah, because it's a diverse world, and it's hard to, when you're looking for talent, that you're only looking for people who are fitting in. Yeah.
Right. That's a danger. Please, I'd like to invite to either comments or questions. I know some of you managed to join a bit later, so I'm sure Chared would not mind if you ask some questions that might have been touched upon on the presentation, but please just unmute yourself and ask.
I will. Hi, Chared. I'm Karen Matthews. I'm
Okay.
connecting in from Barcelona. I'm one of those who arrived late, so apologies if I'm asking something you've already covered. But I'm just curious because when you were talking about your research and I gather that this is part of a big research project that you've done, speaking with people at different organizations. Were you looking, so I work for a global university that has its main campus in Australia, and I'm at one of its innovation hubs here in Europe. So we're sort of, we're not as we're in different locations, different time zones, like many of us. Is this model that you've come up with, would you slightly adjust it for, those maybe hubs like where I am, for example? How does an innovation hub connect to the big mothership, you might say, and have that sense of belonging?
Yeah, well, what I found out was that yes, this is the model that speaks to all the people I talk to. But if you're working in a different organization, it's always good to first assess how your belonging levels are, or what's the culture, or is there really a sense of belonging or not? And we have to ask the employees who work there, like, how do they define belonging on their own terms? Because as we see, well, we saw earlier that there are different definitions of belonging, and it seems to be universal what I presented, but maybe your organization is different, and I think it always is valuable to talk to people like, yeah, what's belonging to you? And does this definition serve you? Will you add something else? And then you can use that model if it serves them. And then you can also adapt it. Like, after asking what's the definition, what are the actions that you think would make you feel that you belong? And also ask, do you feel a sense of belonging here or not? Because there's also, you can also send them a survey on belonging. But what I also learned is that it's better to just really talk to them, because there are things that you wouldn't say in a survey, in a qualitative research.
Thank you.
Did that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
That's a great question also for our board, Karen, I think, because we also work from different countries, all of us, and we connect online mostly, unless we are lucky enough to meet maybe once a year together. And so, I'm going to take this answer and think about, how do we apply that to our board and help carry it forward for the future boards. We have 2 questions in the chat. Frido asks if we can only do one thing as comms pros to nurture belonging, maybe to get started. What would you recommend? Thank you, Frido, for that question.
Started, I really would recommend looking into the organizational onboarding. That's a really good start. And also not only for new hires, but also for current employees. Like, you can do a reboarding. Like, there's also this organization that I consulted with, and then what they did for their onboarding was really powerful, because it was not just about, okay, here are the systems, we work on SharePoint or something like that, but it was really connected with the values of the organization. So there's organizational identification, even if you're just working behind your screen, because they're talking about values, and they also invited speakers on how these values are presented in that organization, or how they see it in that organization. So there's clarity of values, and there's also clarity of how do you practice those. So that would be something that I would start with.
Onboarding and reboarding.
Onboarding and reboarding.
I didn't know about
also,
the reboarding one.
Sorry. Yeah, and also, I think it's also the easiest to do. Easiest. I mean, it's something that you can partner with HR on, and then you can help them. You're in a role that helps a department, and then they usually welcome that, because one of the most important elements of belonging is the relationship with the manager, but that takes time. Correct.
Thank you. Andrew, thank you for your question in the chat. I think it's a great question. I feel there's overlap between I matter and I'm essential. Can you explain more about the difference? Thank you, Andrea, for that question.
Thank you for that question. Yeah, good question. Yeah, I matter and I feel valued is about you as a human being, that you don't have to do anything. You're just here to matter because you are you. So there's that human and authenticity factor also worked into that. But I'm essential is that also when you look at the belonging framework, I matter is on top, and the upper part is about non-transactional stuff. And then the I am essential is on the lower part, which are transactionals. I'm essential, you're contributing something to the team. So you're doing it's also under the systems empowerment part, because it helps you do your job and then you feel essential to your team. So it's also from internal, but from the inside you feel that, but you have to do something to feel that. And also the organization has to do something for you so you can do your work. So it's an exchange. But I matter, I feel valued, it's just because you're you. So does that answer the question? Good question.
Yeah, Andrew says yes. That little hand says yes.
Thank you.
I have one more question, but Anna, please.
Yes, and thank you so much. It's so inspiring, the conversation that you are having with us. Really, really thank you. And I was wondering if you can share with us the best campaign, the best initiative that was developed by a company in terms of sense of belonging. I know that's quite difficult, but the one that really touched you.
Good question.
Or if you want to say more than one, please. Or a company that had
really good question.
or a company that did something wrong and just changed the point of view, the mindset.
Well, yeah, it's easier to think about who did it wrong, but that's just how our brains work, right? But well, I can remember this one company that did it right when we started going back to work during the pandemic. And then what they did was that they welcomed the employees back to work with it was ticking all the boxes, because they had this welcome how do you call that, welcome balloons at work. And then they also had this breakfasts, like coming back to work breakfasts, and also for the parents who cannot work 5 days, 4 days a week on site. They also sent them how do you call it? The teddy bears for their kids, because they have to stay at home with their kids. And then also that there's a lot of this breakfast, this coming back to work breakfasts were led by the line managers. So that was also ticking the box of line manager connection. And also I'm looking at the model. What else? So it was a whole program of welcoming people back to work, but not forgetting that there are still people who cannot go back to work 5 days a week. And also when they did their virtual meetings, when they had virtual meetings, the room setup was really set up that you're on the height. You're looking at people eye to eye. I don't know how they did that, but they really laid out the room that you don't feel like, okay, I'm outside. And then sometimes I also noticed, I also observed some people who are working virtually, and then when they have these hybrid meetings, they would say, okay, open all your laptops, because we're here on site, but we're doing it virtually, so that they know that, yeah, they are seen. So something like that. And it's not that going back to work program was a big program, but like this tweaks, like, okay, someone's at home, so let's put on the laptops and open the laptops, and we're doing it like this. So, it's just a feeling that it's equal during that meeting. So these are just small tweaks. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. And, it just made me think this question, Anna, and in your response, Chared, that it's very important when we create strategies to either create or enhance a feeling of belonging, to also pay attention to the sustainability of those strategies, because I think actually it's worse to start something and then not finish it, or just do it for a month, or make it people dependent, and it just disappears with the person when they go. So thank you. We have a very interesting question from Trudy, and then a couple more research notes and questions from Monique. Trudy says, how can internal communication professionals engage leaders to understand the importance of belonging based on the areas of your model?
Good question, Trudy.
Expected no less.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I'm going to read that again. Well, I wonder, I think we can start with the employee engagement surveys, where belonging questions are injected, and then we can talk about this area. Because what I've seen with the employee engagement surveys is that they do add it there, some of them, and then we can quantify, like, are people feeling a sense of belonging at work? Or also, even if we don't have the surveys, do they experience attrition? So do they do exit interviews when people leave? And is it about belonging? And then we can talk to them about this. And then we can talk to them about, so that's two. And also when you talk about onboarding new employees, we can support managers about, okay, so how do you onboard the new employee? So we can connect with them about that, and be the ears in the organization, and just also offer that, oh yeah, do you know that, have that relationship. But those relationships, they have to be really, of course, cultivated. And then offer them, like, oh, I heard that you have a new team member. Do you know that, those the team members, when they are properly onboarded, that there's more reason for them to stay. And also, I think that, because I'm thinking about HR, that we can offer when we see a gap in the onboarding program, we can also offer that, like, do you know that? And of course, because data is the language in the boardroom, right? So we can offer the data that says, okay, 40% of employees actually leave if they are not properly onboarded within, I think that's 60 days. That's really short. And if the organization is experiencing an attrition, I think that that's something that they will respond to. And then we can offer some of those areas of belonging that I presented, depending on the situation, of course.
Now, Trudy, do you have anything to add in terms of the question, or can I move on to the research questions?
No, you can move on. Thanks very much, Chared.
Thank you. First of all, Chared, Monique was wondering, and actually I was wondering too, about that point of information that you shared around the cost of one employee leave versus if you have, like, you don't have to have it like on hand, but if you can share with us the research behind that or the source of that information, that would be great. You mentioned something like the 200.
Yeah, 200%. I think Advita also shared that here.
Okay, there you
go. But I can also share that, of course. Yeah.
And then Monique goes on asking about the obvious link with psychological safety that we can see in what you're talking about. But what does the research say about that? If you have any ideas, what does the research say? Belonging and psychological safety.
Yeah, well, you can only be, we're talking always about being our best selves, bringing our best selves to work, being authentic, but you can only be authentic if you feel that it's a safe space to be one, right? Like here, like you made me feel safe to talk about my research, you know, and that's the connection between belonging and psychological safety. But I can also look for more research on that if you want to, and then I can send you that.
That would be awesome. I'll definitely share. Michael kind of read my mind when you were talking about exit interviews, and he said, you know, I often wondered what happened to an exit interview. Is it just HR ticking a box, or is it the content really being used to change ways of working or engaging? Any comments on that, Chared?
What was that? Sorry.
That's from Michael Nord.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. I cannot speak for HR. But I think that we've seen research after research that, if you don't do the onboarding well, especially in this dispersed workplace, then, you're not going to keep your talent for a long time, because they need to be really engaged. They need to be able to identify with organizations. I think that's a very, very important ingredient in onboarding. It's not just, and I'm still experiencing it when I consult with organizations, that you're just sent a pack of PowerPoint and you're just, you know, sort of, and, you know, I think they've improved already because the PowerPoints are linked. But it's not just sending over a PowerPoint and then expecting people to understand what's happening in an organization. It's about culture and also connecting with someone who's in the organization, mentoring, body system, all the works. They have to be really good to be able to, to engage people. And also, you know, hiring people costs a lot of money. When they're already there, you just forget about them. Like, okay, you just expect them to know and to do their work. And they can only do their work if they know what they're doing it for.
Correct.
And also onboarding helps them learn faster. And if we're working hybrid, virtual, digital, dispersed, then it makes it even more important.
Thank you, Chared. One last question before I tell you a few things about IABC, Mina. One of the things that is staying with me, and I'll use that as the last question, is there were two very important departments mentioned here: internal communications at HR. And for me, in many organizations that I've worked in or volunteered for, there seemed to be a little bit of a confusion as to if there was somebody to spearhead efforts towards operationalizing belonging or different things like that. Who should it be? Is it HR? And then the internal comms is like showcasing what HR is doing, or does IC take the lead? What's your take on that?
My take on that is that it's everybody's work, and there's always more of this work that needs to be done. If you want to lead, if you are a leader, you don't wait for a different department to do that, right? If it's important to you, leaders don't wait. And leaders don't wait to create leaders. So that's my take on that.
And what a great note to end. Leaders don't wait to create
It is
leaders.
great.
Amazing, Chared. Thank you so much, especially because I know that what you shared with your heart and with everything that you are, and your work is important. So I really appreciate you being here, sharing with us, and I also look forward to seeing you more in EMENA events. And for the last few minutes, I just want to share with you just a very brief update. You can check out our webpage at iabcemena.com. We try to keep it updated as much as possible. So you can usually see the updates of our events, whether they're online or in person, here on the front page. The podcast, the one that's here already, is not the most recent one. Monique, our VP, do you want to say a few words about the one that you've put in chat?
Sorry, my apologies there. So the one that's in the chat is one of from probably about 2 years ago, which I think is still very relevant. It's about the link between onboarding and employer brand and the value there of employees also being your customers. It's a really interesting podcast, but we're just about to release our next podcast with Mike Klein and also Dr. Kevin Ruck, who talks about some of the latest research that's come out. So stay tuned for that. That'll drop in the next day or two, couple of days.
Thank you, Monique. And you can see all of the amazing work Monique does with the Region podcast. We also have, like, if you want to check out the different professional development events, opportunities and events, we will have some City Connects offline coming up. So one thing that you can do if you aren't able necessarily to check our website is to stay connected to us through LinkedIn. That's where we share most of our information, but also I will be trying to send a message to all members at the end of every month, let you know what's happening, give you links, and let you know what's coming up. So if you are not, incentive to become a member, because this community is one in which we all make efforts to support the belonging of everyone. So thank you for taking time out of the busy schedules today to be with us. Our power is in this, in coming together. And please keep us connected with what you're doing, with events that you want to promote for the region. If you have amazing projects that you just want celebrated, let us know. Drop us a message in LinkedIn if that's the easiest thing for you, or connect through the email on the website. We want to show, just how rich this region is in terms of comms support and solutions and thought. And we truly, we put the I in IABC. So let's show everyone what that is and the richness that it brings. Thank you very much to everyone. And we will keep you connected with the next events.